Hello, Bible readers. It's Friday, April 9th. We're reading from Isaiah 54 to 58, and Romans, we're finishing Romans up. I gotta be honest, Romans went like that for me as I was reading it once again. I've been looking forward to that one, so maybe that's part of why. And the Isaiah text, as I got to 54 to 58, I broke down. I've been using these New Interpreter Bible commentaries, these big, thick books. I've got them, maybe you can see them over there. And I needed something different I wanted to understand Isaiah more. And so I actually watched a video commentary. It's called BibleProject.com. I commend it to you. If you go to Bible Project, click on Isaiah. They tell the story of Isaiah in 2 8-minute videos. And as the video goes on, it's a narrated voice and they draw what they're talking about. It just helps make sense of the whole book. That's what I wasn't getting. As I was reading my commentary and reading our Bible reader portions per day, it's like, okay, so how do these 4 chapters connect to those 4? And then there's this whole second Isaiah and first Isaiah. How are they connected? And I mean, I'm the one trying to teach anything about this. And I thought, if I'm confused, I'm almost certain those who are trying to watch me and follow along with Isaiah must be. Watch the Bible Project, Isaiah parts 1 and 2, and it'll be really helpful to you. I'll just say a few words about that Isaiah is, and this is all from that video. Isaiah is all about trying to prophesy about a new Jerusalem after the rise and fall of Jerusalem. So first Isaiah is about, hey, Jerusalem's going to fall, and look forward to a new Jerusalem after that. And then starting at chapter 40, that's when all that was prophesied about how Jerusalem was going to fall happened. And 40 and onward is trying to process and make sense of what happened. And so it starts with that comfort, oh, comfort my people. The exile is over. Israel can come home. And now Israel is supposed to bear witness to the nations about the Lord. But much of Israel has lost faith because of this traumatic experience of the exile. And that's when we came upon that trial scene that I've talked about the last couple Bible readers when we've looked at Isaiah. Chapter 48 is the end of that trial. Israel is found to be rebellious, as always. And now God's going to do a whole new thing. And so that's where we've been the last few chapters. Chapter 49 was about how God's going to call a servant to be equipped with the Spirit, a suffering servant. And that suffering servant will stand in Israel's place. Israel was supposed to be the witness to the nations. Now the suffering servant will be, but he will be rejected and killed. And that's in chapter 53, just before our readings for today. That's what we would typically read during Holy Week, which we did last week. But the suffering servant who was rejected and killed lives again somehow, declaring, you, Israel, are right with God. And there's 2 ways to respond to that suffering servant. As a servant yourself, a follower, you could say, and as a wicked rejecter. And so then we get to some of what we're reading for today. Those who accept the suffering servant is the king, they inherit the kingdom of God, whereas those who reject do not. We also have some poems that contrast the results of rejecting versus accepting. It all ends in a hope for a whole new creation. And so Isaiah's prophecy is far more total for the story of Israel, from gonna be in exile to experience his exile to then the results of accepting or rejecting God's response to the post-exile. Anyway, watch the video if you have 16 minutes. It'll be worth your time. One last thing about Romans, as Paul signs off, he talks about going to Spain and being concerned about what his future missionary journeys are going to be, his apostolic travel plans, you could say. And I came across this great little paragraph. If there's a lesson to be drawn from all this, it is that human minds devise many plans, but it is the Lord's purpose that will be established. So plan away, just know that they might not all happen. Paul would have agreed, even when the human mind in question is that of an apostle guided by and equipped by God's Spirit. But this shouldn't lead to a shoulder-shrugging fatalism, as though we should all just be like, well, what can you do? No need to plan at all. On the contrary, one of the most important lessons in Romans 15 might be this. God allows Paul to dream of Spain, even though we don't think he ever got to Spain, in order that he might write Romans. No matter that Paul never got to Spain, what mattered was that he wrote this letter, which has been far more powerful and influential than any missionary visit could ever have been. Perhaps half our great plans, the dreams we dream for our churches and our world, and even for ourselves, are dreams God allows us to dream in order that on the way there, we might accomplish, almost without realizing it, the crucial thing God intends for us to do. And with that, I think that's a great way to end Romans, remembering God is in charge of our plans and makes the things happen that need to happen. I am one with my God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.